Hello friends, welcome to another video. In today's video, we are going to talk about showing the total line. This is the part 2 of the yesterday's video. In part 1 video, we saw that when you select certain categories in a slicer, you are seeing the value of those categories and also seeing the total line of those categories. Let me recap what we did in that particular video, and I will also put the link of that video in the description. So let's first quickly look into that what we did in that video to achieve the result. So if you remember, we created another table called product category slicer, where we took certain columns from our product category table, which is a part of the model in terms of having a relationship with the fact table. And then we added an extra row, appended union. As you can see, the union, we added an extra row in this new table which we created, and the row was called for the total, to show the total. And so once this was done, we created a measure, and the measure was sales by category and total. And just quickly recap what we did in the measure. uh, we in the visual, in the line visual, just to make sure, in this line visual, what we did is we used the new table which we created, product category slicer. That's what the table is called. We used that on the legend, and month and the measure on the month on row axis, and the values, we use this measure. And what we did in this measure is, so what we said, okay, if the product category slicer in the row context, when we're looking at, if it is total, then just sum the all selected sales table. So whatever is selected in the sales table, give the sales that sales, because then that becomes the total line. If 3 categories are selected, then it will be the sum of those 3 categories, and that becomes the line, the total line. Otherwise, what we did is we look at the values product category slicer. So it means in the context, we are looking at the product category slicer in the legend, and the values, we return that as a table, and then we applied with the TREATAS, applied that a filter on the product category table. And the reason why we are applying the filter from the product category slicer on the product category, because product category table is has a relationship with the fact table. So once we filtered our product category uh, table, it automatically filter the sales table, and that's what we see, the multiple lines in our visual. And the keep filter was critical, because we want to make sure whatever the product categories are selected in the slicer, so we keep those filters on the product category table. If we don't use keep filters, it will show all the categories, and that's why the keep filter was really critical. Now, in yesterday video, what we achieved was, depending on the categories we select here, the total line is always shows up. In today's video, what we're going to do is, okay, you know what, I want to select the product category, but I also want the option to choose whether I want to show the total or not. Don't want to show the total. The advantage of using this product category, the product category table, which is has a relationship with the fact table, the advantage of using this as a slicer is that it will filter all other visuals on the page if there's more than one visual. But in this, the new use case which I'm going to look into in today's video in part 2, that I want to select the categories, but at the same time, I want to have the option whether I want to see the total or not. I don't want to see the total. So let's see how we can do that. So first thing what we need to do is, let's make a copy of this page and call it maybe show total yes no. So the first thing what we need to do is, instead of the product category, because we want the total to be, the user to pick and choose the total, what we can do here is, instead of using the slicer from the product category table, which is part of the model or a relationship with the fact table, we will use the product category from our new table which we created, and that new table, just to confirm, does not have any relationship with the fact table. So let me do that first. Product category slicer, I'm going to put that on the field for the slicer and remove the other one. So now We have the product category slicer. In the slicer, we are using the product category from this new disconnected table, and as you can see, the total is showing up on the top. And similarly, on the visualization, we are using the same product category from this new table on our this line visual as well, and on a legend. So now we can, if we select a, let's say if I really want to see the total only, I can see the total, because if I want to see other categories, we can see the other categories as well. But the existing measure which we created yesterday, as you can see, I only selected 4 or 5 categories. And let's say if I hover over, look at the tooltip, and tooltip, like I have selected, actually maybe I just select one category to give it a better example here. So let's say we have selected bib shorts and bike racks. So if I go here, what you see is in this particular, in May 2020, bike racks are only $3,000 sale, which is the for that particular, the other category does not have a sale, but the total is still showing up the full total, like all categories total. So it means the measure which we created yesterday is not going to work. So what we need to do is, let's create a new measure, and then we will compare the difference between the measure which we created yesterday and the measure which we are creating today. So that will also help us understand what DAX function we need to use and when and why. So the yesterday measure I called was, let's see what it was called. It was called sales by category and total. So let's call today's measure sales by category and optional total, or something like that. Sales by category and optional total. So the first thing what we need to do is, as always, what we need to do is, first we need to check if we, in our visual, in the row context, we are looking at the total, the value total. So what we need to do is product category slicer again, the product category, not sort, but product category. If this is a total, what we need to do here is we need to get the sum of what is currently selected. So now what we need to do here is, oops, sorry, let's create a measure. Yeah, sorry, calculation is to calculate sales. And then what we need to do here is treat as, I will explain what we're doing here is, all selected product category slices, product category, and apply this filter on product category. And let me explain this to you guys. Let's finish this measure here for now and use this in our calculation here so that we understand what's going on. Few arguments are okay, so max here. So let's use now this new measure in our visual here. Select by category and optional total. Okay, so let's see how it's working, and then we will look into this, explain this measure. I will explain this measure. So if you look at right now, it is only going to show the total because I have in our if condition, if the value is total only, we are doing this calculation, otherwise it is returning blank, and that's why whatever the categories we select here will not show up in the visual. So but now you see the total is changing if I select more categories. So what it is giving me, it is only giving me the total of the selected categories now. So this is the total part is working. So and as you can see now the total is changing. If it's one category, I guess this category doesn't have any sales, and bike racks, so this is what it is showing up. Now let's look into the what we're doing in this measure here. So, and first thing what we're doing is we are taking all selected product category slices. So we're saying is whatever the categories are selected here, and all selector will give us a table of all selected categories, and then we're applying those with the TREATAS, applying those categories as a filter on our product category table. And once we apply the filter on product category table, and product category table is connected with the fact table. It is filtering our fact table, and that's why we are getting the total of the selected category. So this is working fine. The second part of this code is pretty much going to be same as yesterday. So what we're going to do is calculate sales, treat as, again, values, product category slices, product category. There is a small difference what I'm doing today, and we will look into both the measures once we finish doing this and compare the difference in the code. So product category, what I'm doing wrong here, product category, oh, products category, okay. So here you go. So now once we have this, so now we will see the value of the categories. So now we see the value of the category, whatever we have selected, and also the total. Right now, because we have one category selected, and the total and the category sales are getting overlapped. Let's select another category here. So here you go. So this is working. So now what I have is I'm seeing the sales of the selected categories. At the same time, I'm seeing the total of those selected categories. But I can now have the option of turning off the total. If I don't want the total, I can just have these only the categories. So this is more dynamic here. So now I can check these categories as well. So now that this is working as expected, so we have the option or turn on and off the total if really we don't want. But the fundamental here, what I want to explain here is the difference between yesterday's my years and today's my year, like how they are different. Once again, I just want to make sure that in yesterday's visualization, we use the slicer product category slicer from the product category table, which is connected to our fact table. But on the visualization, we use the disconnected product category, that new disconnected table we created. We use the product category on the legend from the new table. So in the visualization, there is no difference. The only difference is in the slicer, and that's the first difference, because so that we can turn on and off total. But at the same time, there is a small tweak in the measure we have to do, and let's compare that. So let me actually, I already have those two measures in a notepad here. I'm just going to bring that here so that we can look into this. So this one was the yesterday's measure. So if we go line by line, so the first line, okay, this is we checking total, and that's the same checking total. So let's look at this highlighted code. In yesterday's video, what we had is calculate sales and all selected sales, and this is yesterday and today's. Let me bring this code next to it. So first part changes in the total area. So in the if condition of the total. So in yesterday, what we said is calculate sales, all selected sales. So because the product category slicer is used from the product category table, which has the relationship with the sales table, and that's why whatever we were selecting in that slicer, it was filtering sales table, and then to get the total, we were just saying, okay, give the sales of all selected categories, and that's why we use this for yesterday, because the sales table we know already been filtered on the selected categories. But today in the slicer, we are using the product category from the disconnected table. So whatever the options we are selecting from the slicer, it is not filtering our sales table because it does not have any relationship. To make that happen, our code has changed. So what we're saying is to apply the filter, what we're saying is whatever the categories are selected from the slicer, because this is the disconnected table we are using, with the TREATAS, apply that filter on the product category table, and then the product category table is connected to the our sales table. So this is the first change. Now on the second part, in the else condition, where we're seeing the sales by each category, in yesterday what we has is treat as This portion, the inside portion, will make it small. Let me bring these two codes together so that we can see next to each other. In yesterday's, what we did is TREATAS. So if you look at these three lines, they are the same. And values, so take the values from the product category slicer and then filter the product category table, and which further filter the sales table. But the critical part is in yesterday's, we need to use the keep filters because we want to make sure, because product category was coming from the product category table, which is part of the linked with the fact table. So we want to make sure we just apply whatever the selected categories are. And if we don't use the keep filter, we will see the value of all the product categories. So that's why this keep filter was very, very important yesterday. But today we don't need to do that because the slicer, the product category we are using, that is coming from the disconnected table. And for that reason, we don't, with the product category table, which is the table which is part of joined with our fact table, it's not even in the picture anywhere. We are forcing it only through the Meyer. We are pushing the filter from the selected category to the product category table, and that's why we don't need to use the keep filter. If I use the keep filter in here, it will not make any difference. Like the question comes is like, is there anything wrong with using it? So let's say if I use keep filter in today's new Meyer which I created, it will not make any difference. We will get the same result. But the point here is it's not about should I use key filter or should I not use key filter, but the point is with these two videos to understand when to use key filters and when not to use key filters. And so now let's say the result does not change, and we're still getting the same result. So regardless of whether I use key filter or not, we're getting the same result. But yesterday it was very, very critical to use the keep filters. Do check out why that was the case. Anyhow, this was the what I wanted to show in this video, how to turn on and off a total. If we really want total or not want total, how we can achieve that. But there is a one drawback with this design. Let me show you that. And if I just pick the total here, and because total, there is no category called total. I don't see any other categories or the total line here. So how we improve that? And that's the first thing, and we can fix that in the Meyer. And the second thing is, let's say if there are more visuals on the page, and this is the only visual where we want to show the total and the other categories, but there are other visuals which are showing maybe a table with the product category in this, because this is the disconnected table, and we want those, let's say those visuals does not need to be a total. They are just regular based on the regular category table. How we make sure that this slicer also work with the other Meyers we have in our model. So in tomorrow's video, what we will do is we will do two things in part 3 video. Like if the total is selected and there's no other category selected, then it should show the total of all the categories. And second part we will see is how we can improve this, that our slicer is coming from our regular product category table so that all other Meyers are also getting filtered on that, and still have the option to turn off total wherever and turn on and off the total in the visual where we want to use it. So stay tuned for the part 3 of this video. I hope you enjoyed this video, and do subscribe my channel. Until next video, have a great day. Thanks for watching. Bye for now. Thank you.